So, how did the church handle your parents' divorce?
That was really like rough. Almost the same way that they entered into the church. So my mom and dad started meeting with the carpenters, Claylee and her husband. And they would take, I remember them taking us over there to swim, right? So like we would go swimming. We just thought they were hanging out, but they were actually doing marriage counseling because my mom wanted to leave my dad because she was like so burnt out on raising us basically by herself.
Yeah.
My dad found out about my mom uh, talking with someone else, and my dad assumed that they were having sex, and said he said, "Yeah, you're cheating on me with somebody. I know you are." And he accused her, and she looked like stone cold. And then he said, "Who is it?" And he started naming off names. And he named somebody that he thought would just be like, there's no way. So he named off this guy, Darren. And my mom was like, again, like, oh my gosh, how'd you know, kind of thing. But she didn't say anything. She didn't say that she was having an affair. She didn't say that she was sleeping with him. She was just like, how'd you know that? So they started seeing a counselor, which were the carpenters. They finally got to the point where, and the carpenters were counselors at Bethany, right?
Okay.
So my mom did not want to be with my dad anymore. She wanted to leave. And uh, Darren actually told my mom that this wasn't good. And the reason why her and Darren got so close was because my dad was working all the time. My mom and dad were building a house together, and he would send Darren out there to do all the stuff like oversee the carpenters,
Yeah.
help facilitate the things. So this man was developing a relationship as a friend with my mom
Yeah.
because my dad was too busy and wasn't present.
She was probably just making an emotional connection with him.
Yeah, she had no emotional connection with my father, so she began to connect emotionally
Yeah.
with this man. So I just found
Tough.
out maybe 6 to 8 months ago that
Hmm.
my mom never cheated on my dad, but the church painted it as that.
Oh, Jesus.
So the church told my mom uh, essentially that she would have to leave.
The church.
Yeah,
She'd have to leave Bethany.
yeah, and that my father could stay. And my mom was labeled as an adulterous woman, that
Yeah.
she cheated on my dad, and my mom never did. I just found that out. So my whole life, I grew up telling people and thinking that my mom cheated on my father, when in actuality, that was just a cover up story so that uh, the church could justify their divorce and keep and retain my dad in the congregation.
That's actually supposedly that's scriptural. If the woman cheats on the husband or the husband cheats on the wife, that gives you grounds for
Yeah.
divorce. That's what they've always taught from the pulpit.
And my mom was so desperate to get out of the relationship that she just went along with it,
Yeah.
and
Poor thing.
didn't tell me that it wasn't the truth until just this past year. So I grew up
What the
thinking
heck?
that, and
Well,
it
yeah.
really shaped my relationship with my mother, because I always viewed her as being like a harlot. Like I blamed her for why the divorce happened. Yeah. And the crazy part is that Jessica Percival went and told most of the people in the church what was going on with them. So everybody came alongside my dad and helped him and cheered him on and made him, like, kind of puffed him up as being the one that was right,
The righteous one.
the righteous one, and then they labeled my mom as the harlot.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what that did for your mom.
And you know what I think? I think because of my father, he was on Pastor Larry's 12. Larry Stockstill, the pastor of the church, because of his success in business.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because he was selling RVs at this point, and he did the hurricane Katrina just hit at that point in New Orleans.
Yep. So a year and a half, 2 years after my parents divorced, my dad went from being like a six figure, maybe 120,000 a year man to multimillionaire.
Yeah.
He signed contracts with FEMA
Mm-hmm.
and sold millions of dollars of trailers
Yeah.
within like a year.
Jeez.
He went from like having like maybe a few 100,000 net worth to like
He
10,
was on
20
Larry's
million.
12?
Yeah, Larry recruited him to be one of his 12.
Who did they kick off?
I don't think they had to kick anybody off. It was probably formed, and my dad was one of the original. But when my dad's business failed, they kicked him off.
Nah.
I don't know, but I imagine because he went from being like
Yeah.
he went from being up here in the church to like people were talking about him as being like a swindler. And my dad, so this is the crazy part. The culture at the church was that the more, what they taught him was that the more that you gave, the more that you were going to be blessed in the next life.
Yeah.
So my dad began to develop this principle that he could live on 10% of his income and donate the other 90% to the church. Yeah. So my dad actually was given an award by Bethany World Prayer Center for donating $1 million to the church.
Oh my
And he's
God.
got it in his bathroom. It's a black globe with gold inscription on it that says, "This is your reward for donating $1 million."
Oh, that is so nasty.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what
Oh, that
happened?
makes me mad.
What happened 2 years later when my dad went bankrupt? They turned on him. Nobody helped him.
Yeah.
My dad lived in essentially poverty for almost 8 to 10 years in comparison to what he used to have.
Oh God.
And the people in the congregation began to talk bad about him. They turned on him to the point where my stepmom she stopped going to the church because she would see those people that she knew were talking bad and couldn't stand it. But my dad was so loyal that he would just continue to go.
Oh God, that makes me like.
Yeah. They would come up to him and like, "Oh, you're sorry, brother," pat him on the shoulders. They would never physically help him. The other guy that went to the church who worked for my dad, uh, took like all of his heavy equipment, his bulldozers, all of his excavators, everything,
Really?
and hid him in the woods.
Uh-uh.
Yeah, like probably $300,000 or $400,000 worth of equipment.
It's like some Breaking Bad shit.
Hid it in the woods and stopped talking to my dad. Yeah, everybody stabbed him in the back when my dad lost everything. All of his Christian friends.
Must have been hard for him. God, dog. And then
Yeah.
he continued. Like, why?
It's just the culture, and so if the culture normalizes it, then it's acceptable. I think that church culture actually calls it love, but it's actually self-hatred. So they teach you to, deny yourself.
Yeah.
And in denying yourself, you're actually not taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
So they just teach you that, let people take advantage of you, because God will right the wrongs, and that's not biblical. Because what that does is it actually causes your family to suffer.
Yeah.
Your first priority is your family, and then the church. We had no inheritance. We had no help starting out in life. My dad was so broke that he couldn't even buy me a car. When I turned 16, my dad had bought me a truck, and then whenever I went to go buy a new vehicle, I had to sell my truck for like hardly anything because my dad lost everything, and I had to get my grandma to help me
Yeah.
buy a vehicle. And then I never got any help financially from my dad past the point of 17.
It must have been hard for him too.
Yeah.
Did he continue to bring you guys to church with him?
My dad forced us to go to church our entire lives. And so we hated it, especially after the divorce. Like my parents, whenever they divorced, so I'm going to cut it off at the age of 12, but we went from being homeschooled our entire lives, having
Yeah.
a handful of friends, to being put into school.
Yeah.
And when we were put into school, it was a complete culture shock because now all of
Yeah.
a sudden there were hundreds of other people around us, hundreds of different perspectives, um, all different types of people. Uh,
Did that make you sad, or were you grateful for it, or was
oh, I
it a
was
mix of?
relieved. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, because I wanted so bad to have like, relationships, but
Yeah.
uh, I couldn't because of how sheltered I was. So when I was put in school, my parents had divorced. I remember at a very young age, like 11, like thinking to myself, my parents are hypocrites. They don't do what they say. They taught us that divorce is a sin and now they're divorced. And I remember being extremely harsh on my parents about
Yeah.
their separation and then rebelling like really hardcore
Yeah.
and wanting to do everything the opposite of what my parents taught me.
Yeah. It makes sense. Did you start doing that immediately?
In my heart, yeah.
Yeah.
The more I could find out about the world that they kept me hidden from, the more satisfied I was.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and immediately when I was put into school, I would go to the bad people. I'd find the bad people.
The bad
Yeah,
people.
because the first school I went to was a Baptist school,
Uh huh.
and so there were bad kids at the Baptist school. Then they transferred us to a different school. Yeah, that we'll get into that in the next phase, but
Was the dynamic the same with your mom after that?
no, my mom went to church for a little bit, but it was not as consistent as my father. And my mom was more laxed. Both parents, my dad remarried within a very short time to someone else. My mom, within just like a few months of them separating, I think, was having Darren come over, and then like he moved in after like 8 months or so. I think a year or something like that. So their attention was on us for all of like maybe a year,
Yeah.
where I remember like finally like my parents like are spending time with me.
Yeah.
My mom obviously she had to go to back to school. She went to nursing school, so less time with my mom, but more time with my dad.
Yeah.
And then within like a year they were remarried, and once they remarried their attention was off us again, and it was like, work, new relationship.
And that's the next phase
Yeah.
of you. Oh, I'm itching to get to that. I'm like,
Yeah, my teenage years were extremely rough
yeah. Oh
cuz
God.
for me it's a bit different than yours because I was I was sheltered all the way up until basically being a teenager,
Yeah.
and then I was put out into the world. So I had
Just like thrown.
yeah, I had no moral compass, no ability to think for myself. Um
So you had to learn that later on
I
in
had
that
to learn
next
that
phase.
as a teenager, which is really rough because you're
Yeah.
going through puberty, you're like, all kinds of new things are happening, so
Yeah.
yeah.
How do you think growing up in that environment shaped the way you saw yourself as a kid?
Um I hated myself. I remember hating my hair color. I remember hating how skinny I was. My grandfather, my mom's dad, used to constantly call me toothpick,
Oh
and
Lord
like
Jesus.
would verbally abuse me every time I saw him. And so I had a very bad view of myself from as young as I can remember. Constant quarreling and fighting with my siblings. We fought constantly. To this day, we still fight because we don't understand how to have a relationship.
It's crazy how much those first 10, 11 years really determine who you'll be, and it takes a lot of work to change it after that point, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. I've had to do a lot of counseling, a lot of um, self reflection to get to where I'm at now.
I wanted to ask about your grandmother. She played a really big role in y'all's life.
Yeah. On my dad's side, we were not allowed to hang out with our grandparents because my mom didn't really like them too much. So we couldn't spend any time with uh, my grandpa, my dad's dad and my dad's mom.
Big Daddy and Nanny.
Yeah. They were the only ones who had like a consistent marriage too. So, my grandma, on my mom's side was divorced. She, pretty much raised us like on the weekends. So a lot of my like good memories came from my mom's mom, and she lived in New Orleans. We would go stay at her house, and she taught me how to think creatively,
Yeah.
um, how to do art. She taught me how to. Uh, she never brought us to church either. She just was a good woman, and she taught me to believe in myself because I had a lot of self hatred towards my intellectual side, and and thinking that I was stupid because I went from being homeschooled to being put in school, and I didn't understand how to think that way.
Yeah.
So I did really bad in school, and she taught me how to push myself to do better, and she taught me that I was smart
Mhm.
if I would apply myself.
Yeah. She's
And
a really good woman.
yeah, she taught me creativity and all sorts of good things. So it was, yeah, it was, she was really a monumental person in my life.
It's really cool. Like, even in chaotic homes and uh, just the trauma and the torment,
Yeah,
like, you hear these stories of people who go through circumstances like that, and there's always one little,
little
like,
angel. Yeah,
yeah, like, eh,
somebody to
just to
help you
keep you
through it.
going, you
Yeah,
know? And I'm so grateful. I'm grateful I got a chance to meet her because she was one of a kind. She's
yeah,
super, super sweet and funny and just down to earth.
yeah, definitely.
So I'm glad you had that in your life.
Yeah, me too.
Good woman. Um, what do you hope for listeners to take away from your story?
Um, they can take whatever they want from it, honestly. Uh, if it causes someone to relate with what I experienced and it not be normalized as being okay, then that's a win for me. Because the hardest part for me as a child and growing into an adult was believing that the way I was raised and how I grew up in the church was normal, and that that was what God wanted. And that's the big conflict I think with a lot of people, is that they believe that what happened to them, the trauma that happened, was God's will or a part of God's plan, and that it's good. And it wasn't. It wasn't God's plan. It wasn't good. And the church stewarded those events very poorly.
Yeah.
And I would actually say that they stewarded them in a way that the devil would have, as opposed to how God would have, by spreading gossip, rumors, creating dissension, division, hostility, lies,
Yeah.
manipulation. Those were all the things that I experienced from the circumstances of my childhood through the church. And then it was taught that that was love.
Yeah. Just ass backwards.
Yeah, it causes you to be real confused.
Yeah. So going into those next years of your life, I'm sure you had to really figure out how to untangle those ways of
Yeah, I
thinking.
spent 10 years of my adulthood untangling all the things that I experienced as a young child and teenager.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were married to me.
I was there. I was there.
Yeah, it getting we'll talk more about it later, but because
Yeah.
I do want to help people actually learn how to unwind all that stuff and unpack it for themselves so that they can get to the place I've gotten to.
Be free and move on
Yeah,
and
true freedom. Yeah.
yeah. Thanks for sharing your story and being honest and real.
What are we going to talk about next week?
Oh goodness. So next week we are going to shift back to my story and we're going to talk about the teenage years and
Dun dun dun.
Can you look at this camera over here, James, and do
Yeah.
that again? And
Dun dun dun.
okay, I'm gonna zoom in on your face on that. So, yeah, we'll talk about those teenage years and from 11, 12 to you'd say 20
Yeah.
before we got married. Yeah. And then
And
we'll
by the way, our whole childhood, we grew up at the same church,
yeah.
Bethany North,
Uh-huh.
went to the same kids service, but I do not remember ever seeing you.
I don't remember seeing you either.
Yeah.
I mean, it
But
was
like we were there every Sunday
yeah, us too.
together. We were meant to be.
I probably
Pinkies.
swung on the zip line with you.
Yeah.
You know, you probably ran away and like, Carol.
I like the big slide with the rollers on it. They would pinch your butt cheeks when you go down it.
Wait, what they call it, Kid Zone. They had to shut it down for some reason because anyway,
People kept throwing up in it.
my sister got when she was a baby.
Staff or something.
No, you probably got stabbed from my sister. She went down. She had a diaper on at the time. She was little. She went down the roller slide and
That ball pit was unclean.
poop got everywhere, everywhere. And
God
my
bless
mom's
them.
friend had
Volunteers
to clean it up.
only clean so well.
Well, this mama had 3 kids of her own at the time, so she probably understood. But thank you for joining us, and look for the episode next week.
See you next week.